Go Premanandi. Good enough, you weren't chanting, doing the kirtan. Which verse is it? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 27, Attack by Chandavega on the city of King Puranjana. Chandavega iti khato, Gandharva dipatir nipa, Gandharvastasya balina, Shastyuttara Shatatrayam Chandavega iti kyato Gandharva dipatir nipa Gandharvastasya balina Shastyuttara Shatatrayam Chandavega iti kyato Gandharva dipatir nipa Gandharvastasya balina Shastyuttara Shatatrayam
Gandharva
Chandavega, Chandavega. Iti, thus. Kyata, celebrated. Gandharva, belonging to the Gandharva Loka. Adipati, king. Nripa, O king. Gandharva, other Gandharvas. Tasya, his. Balina, very powerful soldiers. Shashti, 60. Uttara, surpassing. Syata, 100. Trayam, 3. Translation. O king, in Gandharva Loka, there is a king named Chandavega. Under him, there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers. Purport. Time is figuratively described here as Chandavega. Since time and tide wait for no man, time is herein called Chandavega, which means very swiftly passing away. As time passes, it is calculated in terms of years. 1 year contains 360 days, and the soldiers of Chandavega herein mentioned represent these days. Time passes swiftly. Chandavega's powerful soldiers of Gandharva Loka very swiftly carry away all the days of our life. As the sun rises and sets, it snatches away the balance of our lifespan. Thus, as each day passes, each one of us loses some of life's duration. It is therefore said that the duration of one's life cannot be saved. But if one is engaged in devotional service, his time cannot be taken away by the sun. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Ayo Hadati Vaipumsam Ujyanastam Chayanyasa. The conclusion is that if one wants to make himself immortal, he should give up sense gratification. By engaging oneself in devotional service, one can gradually enter into the eternal kingdom of God. Mirages and other illusory things are sometimes called Gandharvas. Our losing our lifespan is taken as advancement of age. This imperceptible passing away of the days of life is figuratively referred to in this verse as Gandharvas. As explained in later verses, such Gandharvas are both male and female. This indicates that both men and women lose their lifespan imperceptibly by the force of time, which is herein described as Chandavega. Translation again. O king, in Gandharva Loka, there is a king named Chandavega. Under him there are 360 very powerful Gandharva soldiers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the news no one wants to hear. I remember 1975 or so, maybe late 74, when the fourth canto first appeared. At that time, in the whole International Society for Krishna Consciousness, practically speaking, Prabhupada was the only adult. And as you may have heard, the slogan so popular back in the countercultural days of the 60s and early 70s was, never trust anyone over 30. None of these young people thought that one day they'll be over 30. So when the fourth canto came out, particularly these chapters about King Varshana, it hit like a bombshell, like a nuclear bomb. All the descriptions of old age and how your body breaks down, and how, just like in this verse, it describes that there are 360 very powerful soldiers. Those are the days of the year. And in the next verse, you'll hear that there are 360 female Gandharvis, and those are the nights. So 720 of them attack the city of your body. But you take it as, I'm becoming more mature. I'm aging with wisdom. I'm mellowing with age. I've learned so much. Life is all about learning. It's a learning experience. But you never understand the lesson you're supposed to learn. And you have no time. There is no time to lose. No one wants to hear that. We plan out our life so that we can have fulfillment. Fulfillment of all types. Economic fulfillment, social fulfillment, physical fulfillment, family fulfillment, traveling fulfillment, on and on it goes. But do we plan out our life in terms of the onslaught of time? Just feel it in yourself psychologically. How do you feel? I'm going to be around. I've got so much time. Why should I consider that there'll be an end any moment? That doesn't happen to me. It happens to other people. Isn't it so psychologically? When you hear about the sudden demise of someone else, oh, how sad. But you never feel it's going to happen to you. Because you feel that I'm going to go on. Somehow or other I'm going to go on. And on the spiritual platform, you are right. For the soul, there's no birth, there's no death. Najayate Riyate Vakadachin, Krishna explains. Second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So the soul will go on. So you have this correct sense of continuity and never ending. But it's not going to work out in a material body. But we're blind to that truth because we look at the material body as our tool for sense gratification, and therefore we invest into the material body such unrealistic hopes and dreams. Take away the sense objects that you think you must get, your due share of sense objects. Take those away, and what is the value of the body? As you've been hearing in previous verses, the body is called Panchala Desha, the field of the five sense objects. That teaches you that without sense objects, what is it to having a body? Every material body, no matter what species, has its particular set of sense objects. They're all the same in terms of sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, but those sense objects are connected with differently by different bodies. So it was such a wake-up call for us back in 1974, 75, when the fourth canto was published. Oh no, there's such a thing as old age. The body is going to break down. And even the sense objects that were so relishable when you're young, they become weak and stale. Your senses, in other words, the sense objects, you may say, remain the same, but because your senses become weak, because your senses deteriorate, those same sense objects can't please you even in the slightest way that they used to please you. It never pleased him fully, but to live material life, you compromise. That, yeah, it's not the best, but it's good enough. I guess that's the best on offer. What can be done? It's something, and something as you like. Thank you for your austerities. Technological austerities. So those same sense objects that you relish so much when your body is young and healthy, you think they'll always taste like that. They'll always feel like that. So what these chapters of Paranjana are telling you is no. The sense objects may remain the same, but then again they don't, because your senses that connect with the sense objects deteriorate, become weak, become feeble. This is why old age is actually not appreciated. Especially in a society that we have today, a consumer society that's driven by lust. So, what to do when the body is no longer able to function in terms of lust? This is a major crisis. So when we were hearing these chapters about Paranjana, it was a great shock. This is what's going to happen. It's like some little child. Is Dinanath still here? Yes. If we talk to you about old age, if we had to tell Dinanath about old age, what does he know about it, right? Old age, what's that? It seems so foreign, so way off in the distance. No point even thinking about it, right? But when these chapters were published, we were shocked. The young devotees, all of them were young, were shocked. Oh no. So for a few weeks after reading it, we got serious. And those who took the message of Srimad Bhagavatam very seriously, they retained this immense treasure chest of realistic education. You may recall from Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter, Arjuna sees the universal form, the Virat Rupa, and he's talking to Krishna. What is this? I see everyone being devoured in all your infinite faces. Everyone is, all living entities are like what? Moths flying into a fire. Can you visualize your life in that way? Like a moth flying into the fire? The moth is attracted by the fire. The moth doesn't understand. At any time, on its flight path, the end is coming, because the moth is going to enter the fire. So, Arjuna describes our existence in that way, like moths flying into a fire. And he's seeing the universal form devouring all living entities. So he says to Krishna, who are you? What is this? What is your mission? What is your purpose? And you know the famous response, Kalos me, Krishna replies, I am time, the destroyer of the world. In other words, everyone has an appointment with time at every moment. So Krishna explained to Arjuna, you may choose not to fight, but time will work its show anyway. Time will not fail. None of these soldiers on the battlefield, except for a few Pandavas, no one's going back. No one's returning home. They're going to die on the battlefield. So, Krishna told Arjuna, you might as well play your part with devotion, because whether you do or not, practically none of these soldiers are returning home from the battlefield. So this is the onslaught of time. And in this allegory of Puranjana, Puranjana is a king, but he cannot defeat the king named Chandavega. And as you heard, Chandavega means swiftly passing away, very swiftly passing away. To feel our life is very swiftly passing away is difficult due to the covering of Maya. Daily we have to hear Srimad Bhagavatam because that instills in us reality. Because we're living in an atmosphere of forgetfulness. We forget that all the time. We're living in an atmosphere of forgetfulness. Unless you take proactive measures, you'll forget that time is swiftly carrying you away. Especially when there's the material process of the senses connecting with the sense objects. You feel that, oh, I'll be around, not forever, but for a long time. The so-called magic moments make you think, oh, maybe not forever, but it'll be such a long time. The processes of material gratification instill in you a false sense of duration. And that's why the Shastra, that's one of the reasons why the Shastra is down on the processes of material gratification, because they put you into a wrong state of consciousness. You think, I am the center of the universe. Where are my sense objects? Where is my pleasure? What are you doing for me? And what are you doing for me? We need to daily hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Otherwise, you have no protection. There's no way you can resist this. That's what Arjuna saw in the universal form. You can't materially stand up to this. And Krishna responded, Kalosmi, I am time, the devourer of all the worlds, the destroyer of all the worlds. Arjuna could see that happening. Everyone is flying into the fire like moths. Everyone. So you may say, well, this moth is 10 minutes away from the fire. That moth is 5 minutes away from the fire. How fortunate the moth is that's 10 minutes away from the fire. But where are they all going? There are very interesting accounts in the Bhagavatam about time and its experience. In the 9th canto, remember, Kakudmi. When you read Bhagavatam, you often hear about persons with extraordinary powers as compared to human beings today. An intelligent person has no problem with this. An intelligent person thinks just as human beings have some powers today, previously there were human beings with much more power. People today are so proud of their artificial intelligence developments, are so proud of their IT, their computer technology. So, compared to these personalities that Bhagavatam presents, human beings today are so puny. So why are we so envious to deny that there could be beings much more powerful than those that exist today? So Kakudmi was like that. He was the oldest son of a father who built a kingdom under the sea. Builds a kingdom under the sea? We can't do that. That means no one can do it. But you have to know the art. Yoga actually means the art of doing something. So the fish know the art of breathing underwater. If a human being knows that yoga power, a human being can live underwater. It's just a question of how much power you have. Do you know the skill? Just like, do you know technology for computers? Do Do you know how to breathe underwater? But you say, oh, we know all about computer technology, but breathing underwater, impossible. No one can do that. So Kukudmi's father built a kingdom underwater, and Kukudmi was the oldest of his father's 100 sons. 100 sons? Huh? Impossible. Who today do you know has 100 sons? Because human beings are so impotent today, they're lucky if they get one son. So Kukudmi, like a dutiful father, wanted to get his daughter Revati married. So he decided, because she's so qualified, he would approach Lord Brahma on the topmost planet of the material world, Brahmaloka. Kukudmi had that power. He could go. So he went to the abode of Lord Brahma, which is free from the mode of passion and ignorance. And Kukudmi indicated to the assistants of Lord Brahma, I'd like to ask him a question. I'd like to inquire from him about who could be the best match for my daughter. We spoke last week about how absurd this would sound in today's culture. Let your daughter find her own partner. Let her experiment with this one. Let her experiment with that one. She's got to come to her own decision. As you know, here in New Zealand, it's so popular amongst, how do you say, well-intentioned, educated parents to the daughter is 14 or 15, has a boyfriend, bring him home, let him stay in your room. What's the problem? It's all part of life. Mothers take their teenage daughters and drop them off at the boyfriend's house at night and come back in the morning to pick up the girl. This is considered enlightened parenting. Why should there be all this repression and unnecessary stigma when we know what the purpose and the main activity of life is? So why put so many impediments in the way of that? Let it happen with full blessings, with full support. Well, Kukudmi is not like that. So he wants to consult with Lord Brahma. Who would be the suitable match for my daughter? But Brahma was busy. What was he doing? He was being entertained by a concert given by the Gandharvas, expert musicians. So he just said, he sent the message back to Kukudmi, just wait a moment. So Kukudmi said, oh, I don't wait a moment, no problem. And indeed, the concert ended after one moment. And so then Kukudmi made his presentation to Brahma. Can you recommend anyone on earth who could marry my daughter? Who do you think is the most qualified? Brahma looked at him and said, you've been here on Brahmaloka for an instant, and I told you just wait a moment. But in that time of waiting a moment, something else has happened on earth. 27 Chatur Yugas, 27 Maha or Divya Yugas have passed. What is a Chatur or Divya or Maha Yuga? 4 yugas, the yuga cycle. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. 27 of those 4 of that quartet has passed. Even though on Brahmaloka it's just a moment. So all those candidates that you were thinking about and considering, they're long gone. Not only are they long gone, their sons are long gone. Not only are their sons long gone, but the grandsons are long gone. And to tell you what, Brahma said, there's not even memory of these personalities. There's no history of them. No one even knows about them anymore. This is the effect of time. Often, in order to console themselves about the passage of time, people today tell each other, notions to give themselves some emotional succor. Life is about leaving a story behind so that others will remember you. You'll still exist in the thoughts and memories of others. That's your consolation prize. Like you know the story how my father was wanting to have a deep discussion with me, which didn't happen too often. And so he said, son, what do you think the meaning of life is? And I said, well, Dad, I don't know. I'm still trying to work that out. I was 14. Son, I'll tell you what the meaning of life is. He was very authoritative in his presentations. Career man in the New York City Police Department, so he used to tell me what to do. I'll tell you what the meaning of life is. The meaning of life is to leave some tracks in the sand when you're gone. That's the meaning of life. Do something that creates tracks in the sand that stay there after you're gone. So I said, I don't understand that. I want to know, regardless of the tracks in the sand, when you're gone, what's gone and where does it go? So, son, you've missed the whole point. You're overthinking. What does it matter where you go? It's all about leaving tracks in the sand, memories in the minds of others. And it made such sense to him. Here he is, an investigator in the police department, investigating other policemen. You have to be very suspicious and analytical. But when it comes to our own life, why worry about where you go? Just leave some tracks. I wanted to know what leaves the tracks. And where do you go after the tracks are left? No, son. You don't understand. Then he would instruct me, life is not a spectator sport. Son, you've got to get into it more. I won't tell you the rest of the Or maybe I will. You've heard it before, right? Life is not a spectator sport. You gotta get into it. You're 14 now, my dear boy. There's a lot of nice young girls in the neighborhood. Feel free to interact with. But I was under the influence of my mother, who was a staunch Christian. I said, but Dad, Mother says that's sinful. Oh, son, you're listening to your mother too much. It's just natural. And then in the same conversation, he'd start talking about my younger sister. And if you ever see any boys walking her home from school, you tell me and I'll immediately take action. I said, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. If all the boys are supposed to be wild and all the girls are supposed to keep it together, this is not going to work. So anyway, we would consider Kakunbi's approach to be, even some would say, barbaric. Let the girl make her own choice. Experiment. I think when I was about 11 years old, the #1 pop song was called Shop Around. These days they would just say sleep around, but this was 1960 or so. The song was advising, shop around before you have multiple relationships before you settle on the one. And that way you'll be able to make the right decision. Shop around. So people think that is enlightened parenting, to give such advice. Let persons find happiness their own way. Well, what do you think? Look at society today. Have they found happiness? They're miserable. There's an epidemic of youth mental health problems. No one would dare consider these problems come from such an unregulated, wild lifestyle. And when you hear about the Vedic system, you think, oh, how cruel. Poor Revati. Her father is going to ask Lord Brahma for advice who she should marry. How tyrannical. How repressive. So, as we discussed, Brahma said, everyone you were thinking of has a possibility. They're gone, their sons are gone, their grandchildren are gone, even the memory of any of them is gone. Devastating. So, Brahma said, the best thing to do is, since your daughter is so qualified, and Lord Balaram is present, manifest, his pastimes are manifest on the earth now. Give your daughter to Balaram. So that's what Kakudmi did. That's how he resolved the situation. Then, later in the ninth canto, you have the history of Yayati. He had a problem. He did something that got him cursed by Shukracharya. And Shukracharya said, because you've made this mistake, and you know Shukracharya, he's a materialist priest. He's not a bhakta. You know that from his dealings with Bali Maharaj in the 8th canto. So Shukracharya said, because you've made this offense, I curse you to be prematurely old right now. And what was Yayati's response? Oh no, you can't do this to me. I become an old man right now. I haven't satisfied my desires. This will be so cruel upon me to become old right now. I still have desires to act on. And then Yayati added support for his presentation. He said, and I'm married to your daughter, you know, and if I'm an old man right now, she's going to be left out of fulfilling her desires. Of course, today we say, just let the girl have someone else. What's the problem, you know? Open marriage or whatever, divorce and get someone else. What's the big deal? But in Vedic civilization, there's no question of that. So Shukracharya, the father of the daughter that was married to Yayati, began to calculate, if I curse Yayati to be old right now, it's going to affect my daughter, because he's married to my daughter. All right, we'll make a deal here. You, Yayati, can transfer your old age to someone else in exchange for their youth. Who would do such a thing? Who would trade their youth for old age? There's only one type of person who would do that. Yayati's sons. And Shukracharya knew that's the only way to resolve this situation. Yayati doesn't want my curse of becoming old instantly. And I've got a daughter who's married to him, and she's not finished with their affairs with him. So let Yayati transfer the curse of old age to one of his sons. To appreciate the significance of this, you need to understand that in a real human civilization where there are real fathers who have dignity and sense of duty and some understanding of karma, the devatas, the Supreme Personality Godhead, the father is considered authoritative, one of the authorities. And so therefore to disobey the Father is considered very barbaric, very savage. This is hard to understand, just like parents arranging marriages is hard to understand. So similarly, accepting the Father's word as authoritative, just like I was certainly not going to accept my father's word as authoritative. His acharya was huge. But in a real human civilization, which we don't have today, the Father is one of the authorities. So this is why Yayati had the credibility and the potential for influencing one of his sons. Take my old age, and give me your youth. He would say, who would ever? If your father ever said something like that to you, you would go, oh, get real. I've got to enjoy my senses. My time hasn't come yet. But the father, Yayati, is thinking, his time hasn't come yet either. He still has loads of desires. In other words, Yayati is showing that by indulging in material desires, there's never satiation. There's never satisfaction. In your mind, you imagine, oh, I'm going to be fulfilled. It's going to be nice. I'll be satisfied. It never happens. And Yayati is showing this. Therefore, he's terrified. Oh, no, I can't become old now. I still have so many desires. And his wife's father, Shukracharya, was calculating also, I better rethink this because my daughter's not finished with him, with her business with him. Okay, we'll make a deal here. You trade your old age for one of your son's youth, and that will resolve the situation. So, Yayati went to the first son, Yadu, the famous one, of the head of the origin of the Yadu dynasty. Very elevated being in bhakti. So elevated that Krishna appeared in his line. So Yadu said no. But why did Yadu say no? Was it because of selfish reasons? No, I can't take your old age. I want to enjoy. No, Yadu refused because he's thinking that he knows in the future in my dynasty the Supreme Personality of God is going to appear. So I want to go through the Vedic stages of Grihastha life, and then Vanaprastha, and then Sannyas. If I take old age now, I won't be able to progressively and gradually deal with my material desires. Now, please understand, Yadu was not saying, I gotta enjoy wildly first. I gotta get into it, hit bottom. And then I'll start to come up and say, oh, it's time to be Vedic. It's time to regulate the senses. No, when he talks about, I need to go through material affairs and activities first, he's talking about regulated Vedic life. Just like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dharma Marudo Bhuteshu Kamosmi Bharatarshava. I am procreative activity when done according to Dharma. I remember Srila Prabhupada saying in the middle of a lecture, and at that time there were lots of brahmacharis. We all blushed. Dharma Varuna Bhutesu, Kamasmi Bharatarshava. Krishna says he is procreative activity according to Dharma. That means even during that activity, you can experience Krishna. But he's intent on showing the perfect completeness of Krishna. How everything can be used in bhakti. So Yadu was not like being wild sense enjoyment. No, first I gotta let my senses go completely, and then I'll be ready for old age and automatically renounce. No, he's saying I need to go through the Vedic regulated system for dealing with my material desires, so that later I can be renounced. So he was not selfish in refusing his father. He's thinking, for my own well-being and for the well-being of the world, since I'll be the head of the Yadu dynasty, the root of the Yadu dynasty, I need to get myself together properly. So his refusal of his father's order was very noteworthy and very proper, and it's celebrated even today. So then Yayati turned to the next batch of sons. Will you take my old age and give me your youth? Their mentality was totally different. Hell no. We just want to enjoy. So their refusal was not based on Dharma. Yadu's was based on Dharma. I want to go through the Vedic progressive system of when all the senses are used according to a Vedic regulation and plan. But these other sons were irreligious, ignorant of Dharma. No, we got a whole life ahead of us of sense enjoyment. We don't want your old age. So they refused purely because of selfish material reasons. I hope you can see the difference between them and Yadu. Very important. It's a crucial point. So then Yayati turned to his youngest son, Puru. Will you take my old age and give me your youth? I haven't finished enjoying. I have all these desires. Can you help your father in this way? And Puru said, the order of the father is so exalted. Only a miscreant would refuse the order of the father. Yes, I'll do that. But in accepting what my father says, I'm at fault because a first-class son acts for the benefit of the father even before the father gives a command, even before the father gives an instruction. The first-class son has already figured out what the father needs and what the father wants. I'm not first class. The second-class son is obedient. The father says, do this. The son says, yes. And the third-class son gives no consideration to what the father says. So Puru says, I'm second class. I'm doing what you say, but I should have offered myself to take on your old age and give you my youth. Now, one point is that Yadu knew that at some point, if he took his father's old age, at some point, his father in the future would give back the youth to Yadu. But Yadu was thinking, I've got to prepare myself by going through the Vedic progressive system. I can't delay it. The important things are due to happen. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is due to appear in the Yadu dynasty. I can't delay my making progress going through Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and so forth. I can't delay that. So no, Father, I've got to get on with my life. So Puru took his father's old age. And it's true that after a long time, Yayati finally got tired of his thirst for material gratification. So this is a very interesting history of time and how to handle time. Yayati was cursed to prematurely age. He's victimized even more by time. Time is swallowing everyone up. But Yayati didn't even get the chance to fulfill all his youthful desires. He was cursed to be old. But everyone is cursed by time, whether in the way of Yayati or just normal life. So therefore, the Bhagavatam verse is quoted, Ayur adati vai punsam udyan nashtam chayannaso. both by the sun's rising and the sun's setting. Everyone's life is stolen, except the life of those who spend their days and nights glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore you hear in this purport, the conclusion is that if one wants to make himself immortal, he should give up sense gratification. Oh, that's too heavy a price to pay. Let me die. Let me get old. But don't give up the sense gratification. But no one actually wants to die. No one wants to get old. But they don't know the process, how to deal with that. Therefore, they just accept it's part of life. Or one day the scientists will figure out how to put our brain in another body or something. You can ask Chandidas what the latest speculations are. AI will solve everything. AI will create robots that will be smarter than human beings, and somehow or other the human being can implant himself in the robot and go on living. People don't want to die. They don't want to get old. You don't want to die. You don't want to get old. But the normal way of thinking is, it's going to happen. Don't think about it. Don't wish it upon anyone. It's going to happen. But meanwhile, get it while you can. We're such victims of that get it while you can animal culture. And we think the greatest tragedy is to age, to become diseased, to die before we have fulfilled our desires. But, as Bhagavatam explains, material desires are never fulfilled. There's no satiation. This is the riddle of Maya. How can something be so much a part of our thinking, so much a part of our consciousness? We're so materially pre-programmed for it, yet it will never satisfy us. That can't be true. We refuse to believe that. So this is our predicament when left to rely only on material resources and material knowledge. Kakudmi's situation with time was resolved so nicely. Brahma told him, marry your daughter to Balaram, the Supreme Personality of God. He's present on earth now. So that's what happened to Revati, Kakudmi's daughter. From Lord Balaram, we can take the spiritual strength to carry Krishna's instructions. Bala, spiritual strength. I often point out on Balaram's appearance day that sometimes we think, how can I go on with this bhakti process? I'm so weak, I'm so harassed by material desires. But we beg Lord Balaram for spiritual strength, for carrying Krishna's instructions, our bhakti can become successful. All right, any questions? Yes. Is it worthwhile to pay a debt? To fear death? Every intelligent person fears death. It's only the fools who are intoxicated who say, I don't care about death. It's just one of those things. When it happens, that's the end. I didn't care about birth. Why should I care about death? Before birth, there's just an infinite expanse of nothingness. And after death, there's an infinite expanse of nothingness. So in between these two infinite expanses of nothingness is the speck, the spot of your life. Why take it so seriously? Create your own meaning, enjoy your senses while you can, and you're gone. That's it. And make sure you're intoxicated as much as possible, because then you certainly won't be able to think straight. Thinking straight, the Hari Hare Krishnas always try to get you to do that. They spoil all the fun. Just like probably some of your friends, your ex-friends are thinking, what happened to Rory? He was the life of the party. Now he's a deadbeat, boring Hare Krishna. They don't see you dancing wildly in kirtan, crying out Krishna's name. They don't, what's he doing? So yes, fear of death is what every intelligent person should have. But then again, equipped with the knowledge of Bhagavatam, you understand, for the devotee, death is just a change of service. Instead of serving Krishna here, you go serve Krishna somewhere else. Or it's possible Krishna may want you to take birth right in the same situation, even the same family that you died in. So it's just a transferring of service, just like you change jobs. You've done that before, right? You're going on working, but you were working for this person before, now you're working for that person. Simply change of body. You're serving Krishna here, now you're serving Krishna there. Yes.
How much should we endeavor to, as time, of course, leads inevitably that, how much should we endeavor to live healthy, to extend our life as much as karma allows? I was reading, for example, about one tech CEO who spends $2 million a year on all the latest supplements, 100 supplements a day to extend his life.
What is he? You said one, you're reading about what?
One tech CEO.
Ex-CEO. Who spends $2 million a year on supplements.
Yes, to extend his life.
If he was really smart, he would spend $1,000 a year on supplements and give the rest of the millions of dollars to devotees. And then, although he will still die, he'll take birth in a very wealthy family in his next life. I was telling one devotee whose parents contributed a lot of money, relatively speaking, a lot of money, for that devotee's family. And so I said, and I know the devotee's mother, so I said, you can tell your mother, because the mother's in her 70s now, she'll be very wealthy in her next life. Most likely the mother would ask, well, how can he say that? How can Devarita Swami say that? But you don't have to explain. Just tell her she'll be very wealthy in her next life because she gave money to what she simply thinks I'm giving money to my daughter, but she's actually giving money for devotional service. She's giving money to Krishna's servant. So in her next life, she'll get that back 1 trillion-fold. So yes, tell your ex-CEO, all right, spend $2,000 a year on supplements, but the rest of the almost $2 million or so you give to a Vaishnava, and that will help your immortality. So we have to take care of this body as best we can for Krishna's service. We have Dr. Nalini Kanta here. Make sure the brahmacharis are all healthy. He's always on my case. Maharaj, have you done this? Have you done that? I try to be a cooperative patient. You do your best to take care of your machine because it's engaged in Krishna's service. But it will die. It will get old. So remember the bitter lesson that the senses teach you. The sense objects still look attractive, but in old age, your senses are distorted, weakened, and feeble. So this is why old age is such a frustrating affair. You see the sense objects, they're all around you, but your senses are feeble, your body's breaking down. What else can you do for your life? Except raise your children and grandchildren to do the same mistake you did. And that's called life. Yes.
Krishna, I was wondering, is there a point of no return to Krishna consciousness?
Is there a point of what?
No return
No return where?
To Krishna consciousness?
to Krishna consciousness.
No return
To Krishna consciousness.
for someone who
And like, do something bad and they can never come back?
everyone can come back, but it can take such amount of time that you think it's eternal, but it's not. There's no eternal damnation. But as Krishna explains in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, for those who are demoniac, birth after birth, they're thrown into the wombs of demoniac species, birth after birth. So that can happen for such a long time, you could say it's eternal, but it's not. It's just that you can't calculate how much time. Just like for could be. When Brahma told him, 27 Chakra Yugas have passed. You can't calculate that. Who's good at math? Who knows what is one Chakra Yuga? Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. What's the total for the combination? Huh? That's one. So multiply that by 27. Can't even do that. So what to speak of calculating what Krishna means by birth after birth, perpetually you'll take birth in demoniac species. It's not eternal condemnation. You'll burn in fire forever. Yes, Jai.
Just relating to what you said earlier about the moths, one's 5 minutes out, and the other was 10 minutes out, and the 10-minute one's thinking, we're cool out here, we're going to burn. So I was just thinking the other day that relates to this. If you live for 100 years, this long, such an extended life that we can do, then we only have 36,500 days. That's what we get. 36,500 days, just 100 years. And when I saw the figure the other day, I was thinking, that doesn't sound that long. 36,000 times you would have had to get up, and 36,000 times and so forth. So yeah. And if you live to your 90s, 32,000 days.
So as the verses today told us, there are 360 soldiers carrying away your days and 360 female Gandharvas carrying away the nights. So a total of 720. So King Pranjana doesn't stand a chance. His city Panchaladesh, the city of the 5 sense objects, is under attack. There's no way the King Pranjana can survive. Yes?
I appreciate it, really. I was just thinking about, in the verse and in your classroom, it's stating to avoid sense gratification, right? And so I was thinking.
I didn't say that the Bob was on the subject. I don't say these things.
I guess
I just say, do you have right to do what you like? Be happy in your own way. Don't restrict yourself. Be open to everything.
I guess that's what I'm trying to understand from my life, that there's also this part of Bhagavad Gita that says to keep everything in balance, even recreation. And when life is so, intense, and at least in this stage of my life, I feel like I need some time to like, zone out, or I don't know how to say it, like relax, and then trying to figure out how to do it that it's not sense gratificatory.
We watch you dance in the temple, you're having recreation. Everyone likes to dance. You chant, you dance, you take prasad, yes? Like Srila Prabhupada once explained, he asserted that the happiness of Indian family life is eating. That's real sense gratification, but it's offered to Krishna first. And Krishna leaves behind the remnants for you to enjoy. So, recreation. You go for a jog walk on the beach. What is it called? Mirai? So many things you can do for spiritual recreation. That's why chanting and dancing is so important. You do that, right? Everyone knows. So what is the difficulty? What, you want to go salsa dancing?
I guess just being a bit honest. At different moments of the day, modes are different, and in the morning it's very easy for me to be very spiritually strong. But in the evening when I'm tired, I'm not that spiritually strong and making maybe not very wise decisions.
Well, I'm sure you and Jayadev Kavi can work these things out. What can I say? I always point out, talk to Jai Shila Prabhu. What do I know about those things? When you're tired, well, if it's in the evening time, it's close to taking rest, unless you're going to be on social media until midnight. It's hard taking rest in the evening because you're supposed to take rest in a couple of hours. What I do when I'm tired in the evening, I chant more japa. It's recreation. You have your family. You can talk about family affairs with your family. Isn't that recreational? The son, the daughter, right? The whole point is keep Krishna in the center. Whatever your lifestyle is. I remember I was speaking at an IIT, the top scientific schools in India. I was speaking at the IIT Mumbai. And some brahmacharis from Chopati were there at the event with me. It was at one of the preaching centers they had at the IIT Mumbai. And so they wanted me to speak to a group of students who were up-and-coming bhaktas. So I was addressing these students in a, discussion, maybe about 20 of them, in a separate room. And the brahmacharis had disappeared into another room. And so the students started opening up. We're afraid that, because this bhakti is so attractive, but how are we going to enjoy? How are we going to have recreation? So many of them were saying like that. And then it hit me what was going on. Where are the brahmacharis? I told the students, do you know what I just realized? Do you see any of the brahmacharis here while you're expressing these doubts? They said, no. Where are they? They're in the next room, plundering, huge amounts of homemade ice cream. And here you are wondering about your enjoyment if you become a Brahmachari. All that, they're in the next room eating bucket after bucket of homemade ice cream loaded with cream. And you guys are mentally out in another room. How am I going to enjoy? What am I going to do if I become a Brahmachari? I said, go! Right now, all of you, go into the next room. We'll see. They got up and, wow! Look at all the ice cream! So I see this, I told him, this is the reality. You serve ice cream at your house? Oh, you never invite me. Make it no recreation. Last question inside. Yes.
Let's describe for the devotee material desires become insignificant. So I'm wondering what the difference is between insignificant and being totally gone, because it seems like something insignificant at the very surface.
Insignificant means Akabena Tai Chande Karana Hoive Samsara Varshana Mora Kale Tucha Have. It's a song by Narottam Das Thakur. When will Lord Nityananda have mercy on me so that my material desires become insignificant? Insignificant means like a little fly lands on your shoulder. Do you fall apart? Oh no, a fly is landing on my shoulder. Oh my God. What's going to become of me? I don't know what to do. I'm totally bewildered. So, the fly goes away. Yes, the fly may come back, but it's just a fly on your shoulder. It's not a life-shattering event. Vishaya Shadiya Hame Shudha Nivana Kamehama Heva Shri Vrindavan. And then, when your consciousness is cleansed, you can really appreciate Shri Vrindavan. Everything begins with Gauranga Balite Hame Pulakashari Hari Hari Bolite Naire Vavendir. When will I chant the name of Gauranga and my body shakes and trembles and tears shoot from my eyes? By the mercy of Gauranga, I become aware of the mercy of Nityananda. By the mercy of Nityananda, I become more aware of the mercy of Gauranga. So it's teamwork, as I was explaining in my work this year on Nityananda's Appearance Day. Gauranga makes you aware that you need Nityananda's mercy to make all material desires insignificant. And then Nityananda makes you aware that you need the mercy more of Gauranga. So this way, it's teamwork, Gauranga Nitai.